The chain clinked as Alina Drake was dragged across the cold metal floor, the sound too loud in the otherwise silent command chamber. Her knees scraped against the deck plating, but she didn't flinch. Blood from a shallow gash above her brow trickled into her eye. She blinked it away and looked up at the figure seated on the raised dais, framed by the panoramic window behind him. Stars sprawled endlessly beyond the glass, but her focus narrowed to the man before her. Or rather, the alien. High Commander Korgal Varn sat like a sculpted idol, broad shoulders encased in a crimson uniform laced with golden cords and epaulets that glinted beneath the ship's artificial light. His skin was a deep violet, the hue of a twilight storm, and his eyes were coals burning behind a mask of stoicism. He regarded her without blinking, without breathing, as if measuring whether she was worth the oxygen. "Alina Drake," he said, his voice a thunderclap wrapped in silk. "Human insurgent, commander of the Ember Line, saboteur of 2 fleet outposts. And now," he raised a hand, "my guest." The soldiers flanking her released her arms and stepped back. One gave her a push, and she toppled forward onto her hands. She caught herself and immediately pushed back to her knees, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her collapse. The cuffs at her wrists were cold, heavy, symbolic. Her body ached not just from injuries but from the cold weight of failure. He stood, boots thudding softly as he descended the steps. He circled her slowly, hands clasped behind his back. She turned her head just enough to follow him with one eye, jaw clenched. "Your file paints a picture of resourcefulness," he murmured. "Intelligence, even a certain charisma. Earth burned, and yet you rallied insects from the ashes. Admirable." "Go to hell," she said through bloodied lips. He stopped in front of her. "We abolished that concept centuries ago. But if it brings you comfort to imagine such a place, by all means, cling to it." Alina spat at his boots. The nearest soldier stepped forward, fist already raised. Varn lifted one hand to halt him. "No, she retains her fire. That's precisely why she's valuable." "You should have killed me the moment you caught me," she said, "and robbed myself of the opportunity to learn what drives you." Varn tilted his head. "No, Alina Drake, you are more useful alive than dead. For now." She looked past him to the stars. Earth was behind them now, or what was left of it. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. He turned his back to her and began ascending the dais again. "Nowhere. You're already there." Behind him, one of the officers at a control station tapped a screen. "We've entered synchronous orbit over the Terran wastes. Awaiting orders, High Commander." Alina's heart hammered. She knew the orbit paths. They were over what used to be the East American Combine, her homeland, her last fallback point. "I'll ask only once," Varn said, resuming his seat. "Where is the Ember Line hiding now?" Alina met his gaze and smiled. "Behind your arrogance." There was silence. Varn neither smiled nor frowned. "I see." He pressed a button on his chair. A low hum filled the chamber. Alina felt it beneath her ribs. A deep vibration, as if the air itself was being rewritten. Her stomach twisted. Neural resonance fields. They induced hallucinations, ripped apart your sense of time, of self. Mind-breaking tech. "You will see what I want you to see," Varn said softly. The light shifted. Alina was no longer on the ship. She stood in a ruined street, New Geneva burning around her. Smoke choked the sky. Buildings collapsed. Screams rang from every direction. She was back there, again. "No," she whispered. She turned and saw herself, younger, dragging her brother across the rubble. He was crying, his leg mangled. Then came the drone strike, the wall of heat, the silence after. Alina screamed and stumbled backward, heart seizing. And then the world snapped back into the command chamber. Her face was wet with tears. Varn leaned forward. "That was real. You've buried it under defiance and ideology. But you were just a girl, terrified, alone. That's who you are." Alina's breathing was ragged, but her voice was steel. "That's who I was. I learned to burn." Varn looked almost impressed. "Leave us," he told the guards. One hesitated. "High Commander, protocol." "Now." The officers filed out silently. Alina remained kneeling, every muscle tense. If he wanted to kill her, this was the moment. But she saw something shift in his posture, a slight easing of his shoulders. He wasn't just a commander now. He was a man curious about a defiant creature that refused to kneel. "I've been at war for 60 of your years," Varn said. "I have seen civilizations crack like eggshells. I expected your species to fall faster than most. And yet we didn't. You did." He gestured at her. "You just haven't accepted it." She gritted her teeth. "You don't get to rewrite what survival looks like." He smiled, barely. "Philosophy from a kneeling prisoner. How quaint." Alina shifted her weight subtly, feeling the slack in the chain behind her back. She'd been working it free from the cuff hinge for the last 3 hours. The guard that shackled her was in a rush. She wasn't. "You want to understand me?" she asked. "Yes." "Then understand this." She leaned forward. "You didn't kill the Ember Line. You handed them a martyr." Varn raised a brow. "You're alive. For now." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I could offer you something else. Position. Influence. You'd be more useful shaping your people's integration into the Order than leading them to extinction." Alina laughed, raw and bitter. "You think I'd sell my people to save myself?" "I think survival is instinct," he said. "Then you don't understand humans at all." She rose suddenly to her feet, the chain snapping free. In the same motion, she lunged forward and swung the freed cuff like a flail. It struck the armrest beside his head, denting the metal. He didn't flinch. The doors burst open. Guards flooded in, weapons raised. "Stop," Varn said calmly. Alina stood panting, chain dangling from her wrist. He looked at her not with fury, but fascination. "Restrain her again," he ordered. Gently. They moved toward her, more cautiously this time. Varn stood once more. "You're right," he said. "You're not broken. Not yet. That makes you rare." As they took her arms again, she locked eyes with him. "You're going to regret not killing me," she said. He smiled. "Perhaps. Or perhaps history will remember you as the match that lit the end of your kind." As they pulled her away, she twisted her wrist just enough to re-engage the chip she'd palmed from the guard's data band earlier. The signal pulsed once, invisible, carried on an encrypted frequency only one group would recognize. Far below, hidden in the crust of Earth's shattered ruins, a terminal blinked to life. Alina didn't smile. She didn't need to. The flame had been lit. The silence of the holding cell wasn't empty. It breathed. Every hum of the circuitry embedded in the walls, every flicker of the low red lighting overhead, felt like a breath too shallow, a whisper too loud. Alina lay on the cold metal slab they called a bed, her fingers slowly probing beneath the edge of her cuff. The chip was still there. The pulse she'd sent was brief, narrowband, buried under the local field distortion. But it had been enough. She hoped. Time passed, measured only by her heartbeat and the occasional automated chime echoing through the corridor. No guards visited. Not even food. Isolation was the Empire's first tool: starve the mind, then break the will. But they didn't know Alina Drake had been broken before. Once, and only once. She replayed Varn's face in her mind. Controlled, fascinated, clinical. That was his weakness. Curiosity. For all his talk of domination and order, he was desperate to understand. The moment he started asking why was the moment he opened the door. She'd shove him through it soon enough. A soft click echoed from the cell wall. She sat up. The door remained closed, but the light near the seam flickered. Another click. Then a third. Code. One short. Too long. One short. She pressed her palm flat to the metal. That sequence. She hadn't heard it since the last rally point before they lost orbit. Ember Line. Still burning. The lights snapped off, plunging the room into black. Her cell door hissed and creaked open an inch. That was all she needed. Alina slipped out, barefoot, crouched low. The hallway was empty. Red emergency lights pulsed dimly along the floor, enough to guide but not enough to reveal. She moved with quiet urgency, hugging shadows and skirting the corners. Her body ached with every step, but her mind was crystal. She knew this ship's layout from stolen schematics years before. The Order liked uniformity, which made them predictable. She reached the service shaft behind a false panel and slipped inside. It was narrow, metallic, vertical, lined with cables and rungs. The silence in here was louder than in the cell. She began to climb. Halfway up, she heard them. Voices. Muffled. Not Empire dialect. She paused. A soft hiss above her. Then a hand reached down. "Drake," a voice whispered. "You look worse than the schematics." Alina smiled in spite of herself and took the hand. The grip was strong, calloused, familiar. She emerged into a crawlspace lit by a single blue diode. 3 figures huddled there, scarred, lean, dressed in scavenged gear. One of them, the speaker, was Lex, her old engineer. His face bore a new burn across his cheek, but his eyes sparked the same fire. "Lex," she said, voice low. "Told you we'd find you," he said. The woman beside him grinned. "I bet a ration you'd be dead. Guess I owe him." "Status?" Alina asked, already crawling forward. 32 still active below. 12 of ours embedded on the middeck, Lex replied. "Command cores ahead. Varn's up there now." "Good," she said. "I need a few words with our High Commander. We're here to extract you, not start a firefight in the lion's den." The other woman hissed. Alina paused. "If I leave now, he'll tighten the leash on the system. They'll crack down harder. He thinks he understands us. That's what we use." Lex frowned. "You're planning something." "I'm planning him," she said. They reached the end of the shaft. Below it, the access dropped into a rear observation room near the command core. Lex hacked the panel and the hatch slid aside just enough. Alina peered down. Varn stood alone at the viewport, hands clasped behind him again. Always the same pose, like he was sculpted into it. The stars beyond him were a blur of motion. The ship was accelerating. She dropped through the hatch before anyone could stop her. Her landing was quiet. She moved like shadow, edging closer. He didn't turn. "You escaped," he said, as if reading the stars. She stepped into full view. "I signaled them. Right under your nose." He turned slowly, studying her. "And now what?" he asked. "Will you kill me, Alina Drake?" "I could." "I doubt it," he said. "You're too strategic. If you wanted me dead, you wouldn't be standing in front of me." She took another step. "You want to understand us? You think the war ends when we're all dead. It ends when you realize we never needed to win." He raised an eyebrow. "That's poetic, but meaningless." "No," she said, "because every system you conquer becomes heavier, more unruly. Earth didn't surrender. It ignited a rebellion across 8 sectors. You turned us into a myth, a dying one, but still burning," she said. He took a slow breath. Then something shifted in his expression. Not anger, not fear, resignation. "I received a report an hour ago," he said. "Your people infiltrated Relay 6. They downloaded partial targeting data for our planetary engines." She froze. "You didn't know that," he said, studying her reaction. Her silence confirmed it. "They plan to fire on your homeworld," he continued, "to destroy the remains. As a message." She stepped back, disbelief sinking like lead in her gut. "I tried to delay the order," he said. "But I'm not the only commander." Alina felt the edges of her vision blur. "When?" 32 minutes. She turned and ran. Lex and the others had dropped down after her. She pushed past them. "They're going to fire on Earth." "What?" Lex shouted, chasing after her. "We have to disable the core now." The ship groaned as they sprinted through its arteries, alarms beginning to pulse. The alert had been triggered. Time fractured, every second stretching too long. They reached the engine control deck. Guards blocked the entry. No time for subtlety. Alina dove low as Lex fired his scavenged shock pistol. One guard dropped. The other turned and was tackled by the woman from before. They stormed inside. Panels blinked red. Countdown active. 27 minutes remaining. Cut the feed, Alina barked. Lex was already at the console, hands flying. They've sealed it. Remote access only. Then we sever the uplink. He looked at her. That'll shut down the whole system. Do it. Lex hesitated. Then plunged the override chip into the terminal. Sparks flew. The console died. Silence. Then, the engines whined low and stuttered. We're dead in space, Lex muttered. But so is their weapon, Alina said. The ship rocked. An emergency stabilization burst had triggered. Overhead, a voice boomed in Varn's dialect. All personnel, battle stations. External breach detected. Lex turned to Alina. Was that us? No, she said, stepping back. That's not us. Outside the viewport, 3 black shapes emerged from the void. Sleek, sharp, silent. Order reinforcements. The console blinked one last message before dying completely. Engines override failure. Are you routing command to primary AI core? Alina's blood went cold. They're taking back control, she whispered. Lex stared at the screen. We've got about 5 minutes. Alina nodded once. Then let's make them count. The ship trembled beneath Alina's boots. A low, rising vibration that whispered of systems awakening from enforced dormancy. Emergency lights bled crimson across the deck as klaxons wailed through the corridors, warbling warnings in Imperial dialect. Behind her, Lex hunched over the deactivated console, sweat beading at his brow. They're bypassing the core, he muttered, breath sharp. AI override protocols are live. We've got maybe 3 minutes before the ship belongs to them again. Alina's gaze drifted to the viewport. The enemy vessels still hovered beyond the hull like predatory silhouettes, distant stars glinting along their obsidian curves. Each second they remained inactive was a countdown to obliteration. Her fists clenched. We need to sever main control from the AI. Total shutdown, she said. Lex spun to her, eyes wild. That'll fry life support, navigation, defense. Everything, she interrupted. Exactly. If they can't pilot it, they can't use it. We'll become a drifting relic, but Earth will live. That's a suicide switch, the woman beside Lex snapped. You're talking about killing us all. No, Alina said. I'm talking about giving them a choice. She turned toward the inner passage leading to the AI core. Only Varn had override access. That meant he was heading there now or already inside. She ran. The corridor stretched before her, a steel artery pulsing with pale blue light. Her breath came in sharp draws, every motion a battle against her bruised ribs and battered legs. She didn't slow. Behind her, Lex shouted, "We've got incoming!" But the words barely registered. The AI core chamber loomed ahead, its reinforced doors half closed. Alina slid through the gap just as the magnetic locks began to seal. Inside, Varn stood before the crystalline processor, his back rigid, cloak billowing slightly in the recycled air. I expected you, he said without turning. Then you knew this would end with one of us dead, she replied. I was hoping otherwise. He finally faced her. No weapon in hand, no guards. Just the measured calm of a man certain in his power. You could still walk away. You've proven your point, Alina. That's the difference between us, she said. I'm not here to prove anything. I'm here to finish it. She stepped forward, placing her palm against the biometric panel. Denied. Of course. Varn stepped closer. You destroy this ship and it won't matter. They'll rebuild. They'll launch 10 more. Maybe, she said. But they won't have me on the inside next time. They won't have you. His expression flickered, just for a heartbeat. Then, to her surprise, he reached into his jacket and pulled free a single crystal key. I want to see what happens when someone like you wins, he said, and placed it on the control pedestal. Alina stared at him. Why? Because I've spent my life enforcing order, Varn said. But I've never felt it. He turned away. Finish it, Drake. Alina stepped forward and inserted the key. The The system flared to life. AI systems roared back online, but she was faster. Her fingers danced across the console, bypassing safeties, redirecting power, initiating the total lockdown sequence. The room darkened as energy drained into the final command. Varn stood motionless, watching the stars. All units, this is Commander Varn. His voice rang across the ship's intercom, transmitted from the core itself. Power is being routed to safety protocols. Disengage hostilities. Repeat. Disengage hostilities. Alina watched him. That won't be enough. They'll override you from the flagship. Not if they think I've gone mad, he said, then looked at her with something between regret and resolve. Lock me in here. Blow the conduits. You're serious. I'm tired, Drake. Tired of being a cog in something I no longer understand. Alina stared at him. Then she stepped back, nodding once. The sequence completed. Lex, she said into her comm. Core locked. Ship disabled. Get the others to the escape pods. We're already moving, he replied. What about you? I'll find another way out, she lied. Varn sat in the center of the room as she left, cross-legged, his hands resting on his knees like a monk in the eye of a storm. The corridor outside vibrated. The Order fleet had realized control was lost. She ran. Explosions rocked the hull. Sections went dark. She passed bodies, Empire and Rebel alike, caught in the wrong place at the wrong moment. Smoke choked the air. Sparks rained from cracked conduits. The nearest escape bay was gone. She turned down the secondary route, coughing, stumbling. A soft chime ahead. One pod. Damaged. Half-scorched. Alina crawled inside. The interior flickered but stabilized. Her fingers punched the launch sequence, overriding block after block. The hatch sealed. 3, 2, 1. The pod launched. She was pressed into the seat as the G-forces hit, the stars spinning around her. The warship shrank behind her, its systems flickering in final seizure. Then a pulse, bright, silent, like a dying sun. The AI core exploded. Her pod rocked violently but held. She drifted. A voice crackled to life in her ear. Lex. We see you, boss. Pulling you in. Relief shuddered through her. Outside, the Order fleet hesitated, confused, disoriented. With no guidance, no flagship command, they faltered. Then came the rebels. Ships decloaked across the void, ragtag and undergunned, but fierce. The ambush was perfectly timed. In the center of it all, Alina floated, watching the sky burn as a new kind of rebellion began. One not built on desperation, but on a leader who refused to kneel.